Hey everybody, Chad Wesley Smith here for Juggernaut Training Systems. We're going to be bringing you tips to improve your deadlifts, just some simple cues and drills to reinforce them so you can add some more pounds or kilos to the bar, joined by 5-time reigning USAPL national champion, Marisa Inda.
Hello.
Hi. Our first cue is going to be to RDL into your start position. A lot of people have a hard time finding the tension in their hamstrings for the best start that they can do, and tend to be too like squatty off the floor, that they're getting their hips too low and it's making their hips rise, and a lack of tension in the hamstrings. So if you're to start as if you're doing an RDL, just like an air RDL, standing from the top, hinging back, feeling the tension in the hamstring, and then pulling yourself into that last little bit, you can find as much tension in your hamstring as possible and have a more effective start with your shoulders and hips moving together. This is particularly useful for lifters of advanced size. I used to always have to do this myself, is as I'm starting from the top, being really dramatic about hinging back, pushing my hips back as much as possible, getting my girth out of the way to get down into a position where I could just barely touch my fingers to the bar, and then pulling myself down that last inch or two. If you struggle with this idea, of course, including RDLs in your training is an effective way to do it. The exercise that helped me the most understand this feeling and improve my start position in the deadlift was the box deadlift, or the vert pull. And if you're just new to powerlifting altogether and you haven't trained these hip hinge patterns much at all, or you don't feel comfortable with the hip hinge pattern, an exercise that we'll call the wall butt touch drill is very effective for improving this. So this wall butt touch drill, really simple. You just stand a couple inches away from the wall, push your hips back till your butt touches the wall, then you move a couple inches further away from the wall to reinforce it through a bit bigger range of motion. Our second tip to improve your deadlift is to protect your armpits. This is a cue that I've been using for many, many years to help improve lifters' lat tightness so that they keep the bar close to them throughout the lift and they avoid any upper back rounding as they come off the floor. So if you were to imagine that as you set up for the deadlift, someone was trying to tickle your armpits, right away you're going to squeeze your tricep into your lat and protect them from happening. I learned to do this as a child when my much older brothers would tickle me and all sorts of fun things like that, and you'd squeeze so they wouldn't let them tickle you. Now Marisa does that to me all the time. So if you're struggling with this cue, or maybe lacking a little bit of lat tightness and learning how to flex your lats harder, straight arm lat pull down is a really effective exercise to improve this. Our next tip to help you improve your deadlift is the idea to make the bar hover. So that's going to go to having a tight and patient start. Sometimes people will try and start too fast and they jerk the weight off the floor, and they tend to lose their position when they do that. If you take that extra second to build tension into your body, put that tension into the bar as if the bar is going to hover off the ground barely, and then you start to pull, that's what we're trying to achieve. So this is a great cue to help you improve your strength off the floor and the start of the deadlift. So if you're struggling with this, a simple thing to include in your training is what we would call a Cohen style deadlift. So an ode to the greatest powerlifter of all time, our dear personal friend, Ed Cohen. If you see old training videos of Ed, he's lowering the bar very slowly, and he's not resetting on the ground each rep. He's letting the tension out of the bar, but not out of his body in between reps. And this is a very challenging deadlift variation to do, where you're letting all the tension out of the bar, but not out of your body. You're probably not going to be able to handle as much weight at the start, but it's something that's going to build your deadlift for the long term. So our last tip to help you improve your deadlift is to lock out early. And this is going to be about initiating the lockout earlier than you think that you need to. So we're really looking for, as soon as the bar reaches the bottom of the knee, you're beginning to use your glutes to drive your hips forward to meet the bar. This is going to make for a short, compact lockout where you're not pulling the bar any extra distance. When someone's failing to lock out early, they're going to tend to pull the bar up and back in the lockout, leaning back. And oftentimes this lean back at the top of the lockout, in addition to making the bar move a further distance, could also cause the knees to unlock. It's just not as strong or safe or stable position. If you're struggling to achieve this, training more block pulls can be a really effective way to do it. You know, a 2 or 3 inch block height, because then pretty much as soon as the bar starts to move off of the blocks, you're driving your hips to the bar right away. An extra cue that you could do for it are deadlifts or RDLs with a band around your hips. So a little bit of tension here, just to really cue Marisa to drive her hip through to the bar. So hopefully these simple tips can help you put some more pounds on the bar in your deadlift, have more effective long-term training. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, visit jtsstrength.com for all our apparel, online coaching, books, and download the Juggernaut AI app for Apple and Android.